Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good middle of the night, whatever time of day it may be for you when you watch this video. I have recently been asked to participate with a group of good folk who are determined to effect change in the laws governing child protective services in the United States of America. I've agreed to participate with the group. One of the recommendations was that we research child protective services in our own state. And I live in Arkansas. I've just been watching a new upload on Crime and Justice, one of my favorite channels. My friend there brought me to tears in reporting a case of a baby who was not, who was failed by Child Protective Services. I've never investigated or researched Child Protective Services anywhere, much less in my own state. So I tried to think where would be the best place to start. So I decided to start with an official Arkansas Department of Human Services site, How to Report Child Abuse and Neglect. And I know that for many, this may not be a topic of interest. I wish that it would be, because I sincerely feel that we have it within our power, within our grasp, to help by creating positive change for the children, as well as for the caseworkers. I do what I can to help educate my audience in regards to the matters we discuss. And we're about to investigate something I know almost nothing about. So to start us off, what is child maltreatment? Put simply, child maltreatment is a big word for child abuse or neglect. Abuse and neglect can be several things, including physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, sexual exploitation, or abandonment by the caretaker of the child. A caretaker being a parent, guardian, custodian, or foster parent. Sorry, I should have been highlighting. I apologize. Child maltreatment occurs when the caretaker harms the child or lets harm come to the child, or when the caretaker fails to meet the child's basic needs. Note: sexual abuse and exploitation are child maltreatment under Arkansas law, whether by a caretaker or someone else. Who reports child maltreatment? Anyone who suspects child maltreatment may report their concerns. If you see something that concerns you or just doesn't look right, we encourage you to say something. Some people, such as doctors, teachers, clergy, and school counselors, must report suspected child maltreatment. It's the law. They are called mandated reporters. If you need to report child maltreatment, it's easy. Just call the Arkansas Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-482-5964. You'll need to be as specific as possible about what your concerns are. The more information we have, the better we are able to respond. If possible, have the child's name, address, alleged offender's name and address, and details about the maltreatment. If you wish, you can remain anonymous, but it is always helpful to provide your contact information in case more information is needed later. How do I report? To report child abuse or neglect in Arkansas, you must call the Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-482-5964. The TDD is 1-800-843-6349. You can make a report to the hotline without giving your personal information. Please give as much information about the incident, the victim, and the alleged perpetrator as possible. What happens when there is a report of child maltreatment? The first step in the process is deciding whether there is enough information in the report. The hotline operator, a civilian member of the Arkansas State Police Crimes Against Children Division, or CACD, determines whether the report can be sent for investigation based on a number of factors, including the nature of the concerns and the amount of available information. If the hotline operator accepts the report, it is sent to either the Division of Children and Family Services, DCFS, or CACD, to be investigated. Who investigates the concerns depends on the severity of the concerns described. What this means is that a highly trained investigator will visit with everyone involved in the report to find out what happened and to ensure the safety of any children in the family. The investigator also may begin to put services and supports in place for the family after a careful and thorough assessment of their needs. At the completion of the investigation, usually within 45 days, the investigator will decide if the concerns made in the original report were true. The investigator also may find other concerns in addition to those already reported. What happens if the report is true? In most instances, DCFS will open a case and begin to work with the family to make sure that children are protected and their basic needs are met while finding ways to help strengthen and support the entire family. If the family cannot or does not protect the children, court action may be taken. Just because a case is open does not mean a child will come into foster care. Often, DCFS serves children and families safely in their homes. What if the report is not true? If the investigator decides that the concerns reported are not true and there are no other concerns that need attention, then the investigation will be closed and nothing else is needed. If you are the caretaker identified in the report, you can request a copy of the report. And it has a note here saying, see obtaining a copy of the report below. How can I find out what DCFS learned? DCFS will tell the subject of the report in writing what the outcome of the investigation was. The subject of the report will not be told who made the report. If you have been named as an offender in a true report and you do not agree with the finding, you have 30 days from the date you are handed the written notice or the date it was mailed to ask for a hearing to appeal the finding. Okay, then there's the information here about obtaining the report. It's $10. This is Arkansas Department of Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, Release of Information Unit, P.O. Box 1437, Slot S555, Little Rock, Arkansas 72203-1437. Contact person David Meeks at 501-682-8441. That sounds like the person I need to perhaps contact to obtain more information regarding CPS in Arkansas. To the left, there's a list. Let me see if I can scoot you over a little bit here. Divisions and shared services. Sorry, I know that's probably not so good, but do you have a relative in foster care? Get to know Director Martin, volunteer, reports and publications, forms and documents about DCFS, contact DCFS, DCFS policies. We have FAQs, their practice model. You can see we have a rather extensive list here. There's a lot of information there regarding foster parenting. I'm pleased to see that. Now, y'all, I'm having a positive note in my voice here because this is the very first of my attempt to delve into Child Protective Services, and I want to be kind. I have growing concerns, viewers, regarding, in some cases, blatant failure. In other cases, not enough caseworkers. Caseworkers overloaded. I'm just going to scroll this page while I'm talking. Caseworkers absolutely overloaded. Not enough hours in a day, darlings. How can we help them? It is my intention to find out. This is a booklet that I'm just scrolling here while I'm talking stream of consciousness, as I tend to do. And I don't like to bring up right now necessarily, but on the other side, of that coin. And darlings, it's not my camera actually cutting off the edges here. It's cut off that way on my screen, and I don't know how to make it smaller, but I would want you to see that this is the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It is an older report. Fortunately, at this point, now, I'm just scratching the surface on this research. I just started today. And I'm happy to say that so far, this is the newest thing I found, was March 6, 2018 at 4:30 a.m., written by Amanda Claire Curcio. I apologize, Amanda Claire, if I don't pronounce your last name correctly, of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, our statewide paper. The headline here is Suit Alleges Rights Violation in Arkansas Department of Human Services Custody Cases. So let's take a look at this side of it. Let me see if I can get you closer without knocking the camera over. Two state caseworkers routinely took children away from their parents and violated family civil rights for years, a federal lawsuit says. The Arkansas Department of Human Services employees Chelsea Smith and Stacy Hoke were accused of seizing children and placing them in state custody without ensuring that parents get hearings in those cases quickly enough. The caseworkers delayed paperwork needed to start the entire custody process in court, the suit claims. The suit also questions whether the state's laws involving child abuse custody cases are constitutional. In one case last summer, it took a mother weeks to get her children back, even after the court did not find any evidence of abuse, court records show. The suit says that the department has subjected hundreds of families to this practice for years, and that it isn't only these individual caseworkers at fault. It seeks class action status to represent all families similarly affected by Human Services Department actions. This is just the tip of the iceberg, one of the family's attorneys, Lucian Gillum of Benton, said. The good news is that these parents have their kids back. There are so many cases like this where parents lost their kids. Darlings, wow. Okay, let's go on. We've got to look at both sides to be fair. Okay, Amy Webb, a spokesperson for the Human Services Department, said that law enforcement officers, juvenile court judges, and certain agency staff members are allowed to take a child into custody for up to 3 business days. Webb said state law prohibits her from speaking about specific child maltreatment investigations and cases. In Arkansas, children can be taken from home for up to 72 hours in order to protect their well-being, and no court order is needed then. Well, I'm glad for that. Glad for that. Within those 3 days, officials are supposed to file a petition asking a judge to put the child in protective custody status. If the petition is granted, officials are then required to schedule a probable cause hearing within 5 business days. That hearing is the first opportunity for parents to formally try to get their children back. Gillum said these Arkansas laws deny separated families due process. He also questions whether the state agency is trying hard enough to place kids with extended family members rather than putting them in foster care. State law requires that such efforts be made. Y'all, I can tell you now, if something happened that one of my grandbabies, if CPS, if God forbid, God please forbid, but darlings, if something happened that one of my grandbabies, CPS became involved in this manner, please, good Lord, let them come to me. Please let CPS come to me and Papa too, and we will take the babies. But knock on wood, figuratively. Good Lord, please. Okay. Quote, these kids are being ripped away from everything they've ever known, he added. The amount of damage that's done to a kid is really significant, end quote. According to the complaint, filed December 20th. Now, y'all remember now, this is back in 2018, so this is, what, almost 3 years old now. So, we're just getting started, and this is the first stuff I found now. Okay, according to the complaint filed December 20th in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Arkansas, one Grant County mother had to wait 5 weeks to get her children back. The suit shows that Smith was late in filing paperwork for both the protective custody petition and the probable cause hearing, delaying reunification. In addition to caseworkers Smith and Houck, the suit names Division of Children and Family Services Director Mishka Martin and Human Services Director Cindy Gillespie as defendants. The named plaintiffs are Caitlin Webb and Jeremy and Tabitha Lay on behalf of their children. During a separate truancy case cited in the suit, 7th Circuit Judge Chris Williams had sent the mother to jail for 5 days because her 10-year-old daughter didn't go to class on the last day of school. Because the mother was locked up, her 2 children were placed in state custody. Later, the trial court found that there was no proof of abuse and they were returned home. Oh, my word. Oh, my word, y'all. Wow. All right, we're almost done now, babies. In another 2017 case, 3 Pine Bluff, and Pine Bluff's here in Arkansas, 3 Pine Bluff children were released from state custody after the mother agreed to a safety plan set by the court. It took her 11 days to get her children back because the hearing had been delayed, according to the suit. Excuse me, I've got to get a sip of water. Beg your pardon, I had a tickle in my throat. On January 18th, another reminder, this 2018, Attorney General Leslie Rutledge asked U.S. District Judge J. Leon Holmes to dismiss the lawsuit, arguing that the state employees were entitled to qualified immunity. Well, now I've got to find out what's qualified immunity. I mean, the words make sense. I understand the phrase, but in this context, what does that mean? Entitled to qualified immunity. Well, I guess maybe our little group had ought to take a look at, there's my first, I don't know whether to call it a red flag, maybe just a little check mark. State employees are entitled to qualified immunity. Okay. Of course, things may have changed now in 3 years. I beg your pardon. Okay. And that qualified immunity, what does that do? Which safeguards officials from civil liability damages as long as they don't violate clearly established constitutional rights. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. The family's attorneys responded that immunity didn't apply. They cited a similar child welfare case in which the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit ruled that a caseworker was not protected because a reasonable employee, quote, could not have believed that a post-deprivation hearing conducted 7 weeks after the removal of a child from a parent's home complied with due process. Okay, so that was Metro on March 6, 2018. And our headline again was suit alleges rights violations in DHS custody cases. All right, darlings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep searching, finding out what CPS can and cannot do, and what to do about it. There's plenty of sites here for me to look at, but I want to make sure they're reliable. Okay? That one thing we were looking at was a relative's guide to the Arkansas child welfare system. A lot of these babies are from attorneys' offices. I want to be careful about that sort of thing. But we can see there are related searches that I can go into, constitutional rights and other things of that nature. So, that is my first attempt at trying to get us started on thinking about and learning about Child Protective Services, and letting y'all know that I have chosen to become involved with a small group who is a grassroots movement in an attempt to study the laws governing CPS nationwide in the United States of America and see if there's not something we can do to create a positive change for the children, for the families, and for the CPS workers. Thank y'all for listening. This has been Old Lip Lock No More. I'll see yous on the flip-flop. Oh, by the way, I'm going to leave a link in the description below to Crime and Justice. Please, y'all, go over and check out this video. I'm going to leave a link for. Same subject matter. Bye-bye, darlings.